Welcome back. Today we'll discuss a new book, Red Coconut, Bridging the Racial Divide. In this collection of poetry and essays, Imam Habeeb Alli shares stories from his work in bridging racial and faith divides. Imam Habeeb is originally from Guyana with an academic background in Islamic theology and Arabic language, along with a diploma in journalism. Imam Habeeb is the author of 17 previous books and currently serves as the vice chair of the Guyanese Canadian Writers Association. Welcome to the show, Imam Habeeb.
Well, thank you for having me again. This is awesome.
It's lovely to have you. Now, I have to ask you a very honest question. Your book that we're talking about today, Red Coconut, is there such a thing as red coconut?
Well, I'm still looking for
Okay.
it.
Okay, so I'll take that as a no. So what symbolism, so I know we're talking about your book today, Red Coconut. What symbolism does the title of your book have to the overarching topic that you're trying to address?
So, red coconut, as you could see, the idea is that I have named some of my books in the past after fruits, like blue guava.
Why is that?
Because it's just symbolic, maybe guava is something that I love, and blue, maybe I'm just angry.
Okay.
So the red here symbolizes the blood that flows in the heaps and bounds and rivers and streams across the world because of racism.
Okay.
And the coconut coming from a tropical country like Guyana, how can I not go for coconut? And the look that I'm having here is distraught and displeased and upset to the fact that until this day of age, we still have to deal with racism.
And what experiences have you dealt with when it comes to racism and issues like Black Lives Matter? Because I know you deal with that a lot as well, or you're active in that area as well.
Well, just like Black Lives Matter, I remember going to one of the town hall meetings and talking about Islamophobia. And the town hall was just, alive and energetic and listening to all the stories of discrimination. That Black Lives Matter is as it is, and Islamophobia is as it is, and anti-Semitism is as it is, and xenophobia is as it is. There's no need to have semantics and to water down the experiences of anyone. And myself as a Muslim, over and over the years in Canada, as in Guyana, I do training and talking and writing, and we do multicultural concerts and events and galas and everything, just hoping that people will come into that space and they will learn to remove one of their stereotypes one at a time, one book at a time, one gala at a time, one smile at a time, one event at a time, so that people can remove their stereotypes.
When you talk about stereotypes and racism, do you think it also exists within the Muslim community?
Absolutely, think about it. A brown guy trying to get married to an Arab girl, right? Your daughter walking in the home with a black guy, So I do interfaith weddings, and I have counseled families and couples and on issues that happen to become barriers of marriage, race and sexuality and language and shadism. So, maybe, some people prefer people of different colors, but also different shades.
Yeah.
So that has
different shades of brown.
Different shades, and you know what I'm talking about. So as Dr. Tariq Ramadan recently said in his speech, that the litmus test for your own racism is not that you have a friend who is black, or a friend who's Arab, or a friend who's Pakistani, or a friend who's Christian or Jewish, but would you allow and support your daughter getting married to a person from a different race, or your son getting married from a person from a different religion or race? I think that's the test.
And do you cover, what kinds of topics or themes do you cover in your book?
So in my book, I talk about my experience in Guyana. I talk about my experience in dealing with black inmates who are Muslims, because there's an intersectionality between being black and being Muslim. I talk about a white supremacist who accepted Islam and how he has been received. I've talked about interfaith weddings, and I've celebrated love. As you know, one of my books that is on Amazon is Intimacy, and Intimacy and the Sacred in Muslim Communities. So this is my 18th book, and I think that's the overarching topic, is about removing stereotypes, not stigmatizing people. I work with the HIV community, for example, and we fight against stigma, and that in the 21st century in 2017, it's still a problem of people not understanding what is HIV. So indeed, this book here is one of the small drop in the ocean into make a difference in someone's thinking and someone's life.
I want to invite you to maybe share one that you think speaks to the conversation that we're having today.
Yeah, so there are several poems, and I would like first and foremost to honor all the people that I have met over the years and allowed me to write about them, not necessarily with their names. I do not call, I don't identify people by their names, especially in the prison system. But there is this brother who came to me last Ramadan and accepted Islam, and he was known to be a declared white supremacist, and with tats all over his body. He himself felt somewhat hesitant to how he'd be received by the Muslim community. But over the short period of time, he has grown, and he's integrated well, and he has been accepted. And he has also stood up to show that Muslims are not terrorists. Muslims are not the guy that hates someone from a different sexual orientation, or is about Sharia law in Canada, or is about judging the immigrants coming through the borders, or he has removed so many of those stereotypes, whether on behalf of Muslims or on behalf of Canadians, all right? And he has grown to learn the Quran and to pray and to put a smile on people's faces every day when he greets them with Salaam Alaikum.
Just so our viewers understand, when you're talking about this person who used to be a white supremacist, you're saying he's the type of person who actually hated
He hated
Muslims.
anyone who is not a white person.
Okay.
Right? He hated anyone who is black or brown or Muslim. And
So let's
his
hear it,
his
yeah.
own friends were surprised when he accepted Islam. So here I go. Slave of Allah gives up racism. Abdul Aziz poem on a white convert in prison. I first heard of your story, riveting people's heart with your tattoos and angry looks. Now prostrating in front of Allah, you claim you cannot do this to anyone lesser than the Almighty. Nowadays, I watch you in awe, smiling and embracing, washing away all the abyss of hatred, convincing others on the block, while haters wonder, what about this non-white religion? Making Gucci clothing dyed and styled from tattered patches, loving the style of Sunnah while tats don't bother you ever. Everyone gets hit on, but Aziz is the beacon of strength among lifers. I wonder where this is going. People come and go always. Ramadan, and no Ramadan. Everyday living is one for this inmate. But Abdul Aziz is the slave of the Almighty power.
A very powerful, powerful poem. Thank you, Imam Habeeb. Now, I just want to, ask you. I know in the book, it's a collection of poems and essays, not necessarily a narrative approach or a novel, for example. So, why did you decide poems and narratives versus, something, some might argue even a novel or a story might be more, captivating in some ways?
Well, poetry is a language of love, and it's one of the most mysterious, let alone potent and very rich language of expression. And Islam, like the pre-Arabs, unlike the Romans, and we have always had a rich poetic civilization. So Rumi and Hafiz and Shakespeare, these have been part of my repertoire for ever since I knew myself growing up. I attended Queen's College in Guyana, and since then I've been writing poetry. So this is on my first published book of poem. And a few years ago I was awarded at the Scarborough Arts for doing my poem with a voiceover.
Very nice.
And so I have lent my poetry in all different circles, all different backgrounds. And just to plug this in, I'm one of the very few Muslim in the Pakaraima Writers Association, which is celebrates Guyanese and Caribbean writers and artists. For the last 10, 12 years in Canada, we put on a show every year. And they have supported me and my publication, and I've done similar and supported the group. And I could tell you, this has been such a self-rewarding and beautiful experience to know that people from all backgrounds could celebrate a poem that may speak to something that is as personal to my faith, but also as personal to where I come from, and to love, and to racism, or just a pain that they may be traumatized by, and to come out and say, you know what, that speaks to me. and I feel better today.
I think it's really powerful that you said poetry is the language of love, and you choose that to fight things like racism and Islamophobia. So it's very powerful. You know
And
what?
it takes someone like yourself, Aisha,
Yeah.
to identify with that.
No, I think other people can too. What advice, what work, you know, as an imam in the Muslim community, as a Guyanese Muslim, what strategies or I guess advice do you have in terms of dealing with things like racism and Black Lives Matter and increasing interfaith dialogue within our communities?
Well, the fact that one of Gala has recognized Black Lives Matter, and secondly is that, more importantly, this is a journey that every day that we have to be part of in educating and creating spaces, safe spaces, very important, especially in our work when you're dealing with extremism and radicalization. You need to create safe spaces for people to talk. So
Break down safe spaces for me a little bit. What do you mean by
safe
that?
spaces, what about yourself, for example, knowing that you have brought all kinds of guests on the show and they have said all kinds of things. You feel safe that this will not in any way harm anyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's the same thing that every day when we have conversations, we are expected, and this is a Canadian value of freedom of expression, freedom of religion. You expect that the confidentiality and the privacy of what is shared and what is said will not in any way be violated. So safe spaces is very crucial that we have in whatever settings we have. And this is so lacking in our community. Who is going to go to a masjid and talk, right? Who's going to have an audience with an imam? But thank goodness, I would like to say that the Canadian Council of Imams and the Jamiat Ulama of Canada, with a growing number of Canadian-born imams, educated in Canada, very progressive in their outlook, is doing more training, is doing more accessibility. They're joining Emmanuel College, for example. People like Imam Slimi, who has put his resources to ensure that we have mental health workers and counselors at the Sayyida Khadija Center, and many others that we know. Imam Hashimi, Sikandar Hashimi from Ottawa. I recently hosted him with a number of imams at the Tariq Masjid just to talk openly a conversation on contemporary issues in Canada and imams and what you're faced with. So I think these kind of forums of safe spaces are critical for us to help move the conversation forward and to know that Canada has it. We have all the necessary tools to make our lives better, and we should be the beacon to the world that this is what it is.
How do you think these conversations or creating safe spaces lead to tangible outcomes when it comes to addressing things like racism?
Absolutely. Last year, that is 2016, get that correct, at the One Love Gala, as an example, Shahina Siddiqui was a keynote speaker, and she spoke about radicalization. She had a standing ovation. In that room, people from all backgrounds stood up in her speech.
And all faiths, right?
And all faiths and all backgrounds stood up in a standing ovation to Shahina when she says, well, if you call me a radical, then you have to call Jesus or Moses a radical, because some of the ideas may not necessarily be in tune with their everyday ideology. On the other hand, I do not, so that the word radical is taken out of context, but extremist is not an acceptable term. So here is a woman dealing with a very, very tough issue, very, very tough topic, and she broke it down in such a way that she could have a standing ovation. I think that's breaking down barriers.
Definitely. And do you think we need more of that in our communities?
Absolutely. Open doors. Let the masses open their doors. We don't have to wait in May when Toronto is having open doors, which, you know, I've been part of the Islamic Foundation Open Doors event for many years, and we have had 700 and more people coming through the doors and telling us, oh, I walked past this masjid 30 years ago, and I always wanted to come to the masjid, but I look at those gates and fences and think I wouldn't be welcome, but you're welcome. Our homes, you're welcome. Our restaurants, our schools, our organizations, our events, our Eid celebration, our Ramadan iftar, you're welcome, right? You're welcome to be our friends on Facebook, so why not? You're not welcome where we live and where we worship and where we serve the community, you know? Muslim Welfare Center is doing an awesome job with the homeless in Regent Park. They are being hosted by a good friend of mine, Kevin Moore, from the Christian Resource Center, who has been working tirelessly to help Muslims in that community. There's so many good stories that we need to celebrate.
I think this conversation is, hopefully one step in helping address some of that racism and Islamophobia that we're seeing in our community. So thank you very much, Imam Habeeb. Just as we wrap up, where can people access your book if they're interested?
So my book, again, is published by Exlibris, X as the letter X, Libris. And you can see that there, exlibris.com. You can look for my book, Red Coconut. And some of my books on Amazon. My books are listed on the pakaraiwriters.org. And you can just shout me out. You can look for me on Habeeb Alli, and hopefully I'll get you a copy.
Perfect.
And for people who have seen the show today, I'm giving out 5 complimentary copies. If you contact me, I'll be mailing you 5 complimentary copies.
Very nice. I'm going to do that as soon as the show is done. Thank you very much, Imam Habeeb.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.